I'm going to share my screen. Let me know once you're able to see it. You're able to see my screen, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah.
So, so
So
can you
yesterday,
so can you tell us how to register for the exam and what is the actual course contents or the syllabus which we can see on the ISTQB site?
um, so this is the actual syllabus. You are seeing. Okay, let me share the whole screen.
I mean, ISTQB also publish its courseware, right? The course details or syllabus that these will be the topics on the basis of which they will be asking questions and their weightage also they tell that from this particular chapter, these many questions will come. Similar to, the foundation exam, they will tell which we have to remember, which we have to practice. Everything they give in the PDF document on their website.
Yes, there is a PDF document. That is what I'm actually trying to share. Able to see my screen.
I can see a
Yes. So this is the document that contains all the details of the syllabus and everything. You can go through this, but end of the day, that is this whatever is there in the PDF is what we are studying on the PPTs. So on the PPTs, it's like around 100 pages of content, but it's actually a lot of thing to read. So we are making it into small bite-sized PPTs for you to understand it more faster and easily.
Now, the reason I was asking is because it is a living document, right? Because it keeps on changing, they keep on updating on based on the versions. Suppose current version is 1.1 and when I appear for the exam, they come with version 1.2. So they change the syllabus. They keep on adding or removing the things.
Yeah, so whatever you're seeing is the latest version. So whatever you're studying is also the latest version. Whatever I'm teaching you is also the latest version. So let's say 6 months down the line, you're actually ISTQB is actually changing the syllabus. I will also change my syllabus then. But right now, this is the syllabus.
Oh,
Okay, does that answer your question, Samir?
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yesterday we saw first four subsections. Today we are actually going to continue from there. So the first topic for today is AI development frameworks. So what are the different development frameworks that developers are using to create AI models? Okay. Um, yeah. So before we actually see what are the different types of development frameworks, let's try to understand what is an AI framework. So a framework is something that is actually making your life easier and which you can actually import in your own code and then try to do some extra actions on it. So if people have coded, whoever is in the call, if you people have coded, you will actually import a lot of libraries when you are coding, right? So any library you are actually importing in your code is called a framework. So just the same way, a library that is used to develop AI is called as an AI framework. So like the PPT tells you, the key activities of an AI framework are it supports data preparation, algorithm selection, and model compilation. What model you have to use. So
Can you do the
what is
slideshow, Yash? It's not, can you do that slideshow, like make it more? Yeah, yeah, better. Thanks.
yes, the model compilation and everything. So what is a model and everything we'll try to understand in the third chapter, which is machine learning. But these are the things that a AI framework does. And what are the different types of hardware that it requires. So it requires few things like CPUs, GPUs, and TPUs. Okay, so CPUs means central processing units, GPUs means graphical processing units, and TPUs means tensor processing units. So there are three types of hardware these AI systems actually run on. And a same framework can be written in different kinds of languages. So it can be written in Python, Java, and TypeScript. If you see any automation tool, for example, Selenium, you can write it in Java, you can write it in Python, and you can write it in JavaScript or TypeScript also. Why? Because they provide different types of client bindings. Just the same way, an AI framework that you are choosing will also give you an opportunity to code it in different programming languages. One major programming languages every AI developer actually uses is Python. So the whole material that we see today in the ASTQB AI tester is still on basis of 2021 and they have not updated it yet. So the popular frameworks that are used in the market right now are the first one is Apache MXNet. Okay, it is Amazon's open source deep learning framework. So Amazon is actually the one who has created this framework. We can actually import this framework and develop our own AI tools. Okay. So deep learning is a subset of machine learning, is one type of machine learning. Okay. And then the next one is CNTK. The CNTK is a Microsoft Cognitive Toolkit. The abbreviation is Cognitive Toolkit. It is also an open source deep learning toolkit. So it contains a lot of tools that you can use to create your own AI systems. And then IBM's offering is IBM Watson Studio, which is also like CNTK, which actually gives you a set of tools from IBM to support AI solution development. The next one is Keras. Keras is actually an high-level open source API which is written in Python. And the foundation of this Keras API is another AI framework called TensorFlow. Okay, we'll see about TensorFlow in the next slide, but Keras is a high-level open source API. So if you want to build something using only APIs, Keras is one of those framework which is used to uh, develop AI framework using APIs. And then PyTorch. PyTorch is another open source machine learning library for image processing and natural language processing. So this is developed by Facebook. So what is image processing and NLP? So today you're able to actually unlock your phone using your own face, right? So it processes your image and tells if the person that is trying to unlock the phone is you or not. So this whole process of being able to do that is called as image processing. And what is natural language processing? So so today everyone is actually interacting with ChatGPT. They are interacting with it in multiple languages. How is it actually able to understand that language? So they use another subset of machine learning called as natural language processing to achieve that. So PyTorch is one of those frameworks which you can use it in your own development. And the next one is Scikit-learn. Scikit-learn is an open source ML library for Python programming language. So this Scikit-learn is a ML library that is used to build some hobby level projects, very basic projects with less number of data and everything. Okay, and then TensorFlow. TensorFlow is developed by Google, which is also open source, so you need not pay for it. Machine learning framework for scalable machine learning. This is used to build big machine learning models that are capable of serving thousands and thousands of customers. So TensorFlow is one such framework that is actually popular in the market. So the tools that you see every day, ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, they actually use any one of these inside them. We don't know what they are using it, but it would be at least one of these that is actually serving you. Okay. Like I told you, this is in 2021. So these development frameworks are constantly evolving. At the same time, there are new frameworks also that are coming. Okay. What do you guys have any doubts before we move on to the next section?
So it's either one of these frameworks or it can be a combination of
It can
these.
be a combination of these frameworks also.
Okay.
So the point is the enterprises like OpenAI or anything, they don't reveal what is the underlying technology that they are using because of their own security problems. But it'll always be a combination because ChatGPT does a lot of things. Uh, it can scan images, it can produce images. So for that, it has to do image processing. And for it to understand your natural language, it should have implemented natural language processing, right? So sometimes it can be only a single thing, but most of the times it is a combination of a lot of things.
Okay, and these frameworks basically use some language like Java or Python or anything to build the code.
Right, these frameworks, most of them are only available in Python. But normally, when it comes to the terminology of a framework, so Selenium is also a framework.
Right.
So you are able to write Selenium code in different languages, right? That is because
Correct.
Selenium is giving you that opportunity to do it. But but these things like PyTorch is there initially was only there in Python, but then they later have improved it to C++ also. So this whole process, it depends. It depends on who is actually building the tool and everything.
So this is basically like a skeleton that you would say the skeleton that is being used, and inside you can use any kind of language for developing or customizing your code, right?
Right. So just think about the Selenium example. You import Selenium library and then you automate your browser, right? Whatever you do with Selenium is your wish. But for you to do something with the browser, you need to get the Selenium library, right? Selenium framework, right?
Yeah.
Just the same way, if you want to build your own AI solution, but you don't want to build things from scratch,
Okay.
then you can use one of these. The same
Okay.
example, if you want to automate your browser, will you build a Selenium clone from scratch or will you import Selenium and do the rest of the work?
Got it. Okay. And these all are open source, right? You
Yes, yes. Okay, let's move on to 1.6. So you see a lot of AI-based systems, like let's go with the example of ChatGPT only. So there is a lot of hardware that is involved in day-to-day's working of ChatGPT. So it's not just about the software. So you write the software, but you have to deploy it somewhere, right? You have to deploy it on the internet. How do you deploy it on the internet? And what is the hardware that is used to deploy these AI-based systems? So there are two things to AI systems when it comes to hardware.
can you put it on slideshow? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So the first one is training a model, and then the second one is deploying a model. See, this is very similar to a website. Okay, I'll tell you. So you have to build a website and then deploy a website, right? Just the same way for an AI model, you first need to train it and then deploy it. So what do you mean by training? Training means you have to feed it a lot of data and then let it understand the patterns and everything. These kind of things are actually called as training. What is deployment? Once you have trained your model, you are just going and putting it on the internet. Okay. So hardware for training and hardware for deployment, these two are two different things. Okay. So to train, it requires massive power of cloud computing to train a model. So what do you mean by cloud computing? So for you to train a model, you need to train it with a lot of data. And for that, you need a system that is actually of 64 to 70 gigs of RAM, 1 TB of uh, hard disk and everything. Where are you going to get all these things? You cannot buy these things on the local market. So you need to use cloud services like AWS EC2 or whatever Google or Azure is actually providing you, which is giving you the virtual machines. So you can actually train your models perfectly only on your virtual machines. See, if you want to train a model only on the basic level, your laptop is good. But if you want to train a model and make it perfect, you need to train it with a lot of data set and a lot of computing power. So for that to happen, you need to actually use cloud providers like AWS or G Cloud, I mean Google Cloud or something. Okay. And then deployment. See, deployment again, there are two types. You can deploy the trained model on your host device like a smartphone. So right now, if anybody is using their Samsung phone, okay, on Samsung, when you are editing something on your gallery, Samsung is actually giving you a opportunity to edit it using AI, but it doesn't connect to internet. Even if you are not connected to internet, you are able to edit your photo with AI. How is it possible? It is possible because some models need internet and some models they don't need internet. Okay, so some models can be deployed directly to the host device like a smartphone. Okay, what are the key attributes of a machine learning hardware? This is very important. So it requires low precision arithmetic. So if you see computers with 16 bits, 32 bits, and 64 bits, right? But to train an ML, to train an ML model, you need a system with fewer bits of computation. You need a system with 8-bit processor or a 12-bit processor. And funnily, in the market, you can find a 32-bit processor and 64-bit processor very easily, but you'll not be able to find a 8-bit processor or a 12-bit processor. The reason is they are very niche and normal people like you and me, we won't buy them. Only enterprises buy them because they want to train their machine learning models with low precision arithmetic. Okay. And then larger data structures like
What's the
tree.
advantage of that? Like, why do they prefer using fewer bits?
Yeah, they prefer few bits because the third line, massively parallel processing. The massive parallel processing actually happens only if there are lesser number of bits. According to the material, even I am not sure as to why it is like that, but according to the material, it says if the number of bits is lesser, it will be able to do the parallel processing faster.
Okay.
If it is more, the parallel processing time will get reduced based on the number of bits. So yeah, I mean, parallel processing is also covered. Let's see large data structures. Large data structures like uh, the hardware that is there should be able to do its computations on large data structures like trees, graphs, matrix inversions, matrix multiplications, and everything, matrix transforms, and everything. I know these terms are a bit intimidating. Don't worry about it. All you need to know is an ML hardware or a machine, I mean, the hardware that is need to train an ML model should be able to deal with large data structures. That's all. So the next very interesting thing. What is CPU versus GPU? A CPU actually provides few cores built for complex operations, which is less efficient for ML. So like I told you, CPUs have only few cores which are used to do complex operations but not parallel operations. So AI systems want to do parallel operations. Okay, so complex operations are done using CPUs, which are less efficient for ML. So if you follow a lot of articles that are related to AI, you see Sam Altman or other CEOs talking about we are not able to allocate GPUs, we are still trying to buy GPUs and everything. So that is because GPUs have a lot of cores and they are designed for massively parallel processing. Okay. So that is why GPUs are used in AI systems rather than CPUs. And another important point that you guys need to note down is GPUs outperform CPUs, like I told you, with respect to the AI systems, and GPUs have slower clock speeds and CPUs have higher clock speeds. So there will be a question in the exam related to this. So that is why I want you to remember this point. Okay. CPUs have faster clock speeds and GPUs have slower clock speeds. But slower clock speeds are majorly useful for systems that are having thousands of cores and which are used for parallel processing. Okay. And there are some specialized and futuristic hardwares that are already being built, which are called ASICs and SoCs. So these are actually chips. So very small chips that you actually see uh, inside. I mean, I'm not. So you might have seen integrated circuits, right? So chips the size of your finger or something like that. So actually, they are actually building hardwares of that size specifically for AI. So ASICs means application specific integrated circuits, and SoCs means system on chip. So they actually want to use that chip and try to port it anywhere they want to. They don't want to have a bigger system. They want to have a small chip where the AI is deployed, and then they want to be able to port that chip anywhere they want. So these things are called ASICs and SoC. And what are neuromorphic processors? So these are futuristic hardwares which are already under development that actually mimic brain neurons. So they want to actually create some processors that how our brain thinks like. So if you already know, our brain consists of a billions of neurons. And every decision we take in our life is actually based on how these neurons are actually communicating with them. And then they provide an output from our mouth or from our hand or from our legs. So they actually want to create processors in such a way that it mimics brain neurons. Okay, this is actually called von Neumann architecture. The reason I am actually stressing about this neuromorphic processors is these things might actually come in the exam. They'll ask you something that is related to brain. What are the different types of processors that mimic brain neurons? So immediately you need to correlate it to neuromorphic processors. And if they talk about what is von Neumann architecture, you should be able to connect it to neuromorphic processor. Yeah. So now we have seen what are the different types of hardwares that are used, but now let's see who are the different types of hardware providers. The first one is NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a company that actually provides GPUs and they have a product called NVIDIA Volta. These are AI specific processors. And if you guys actually follow the news, after ChatGPT or Gemini or Cloud became famous, in 1 year, a lot of NVIDIA's top developers have retired with almost 10 million in their stock value. Do you know why? It is because NVIDIA is a company that actually provides these GPUs, and since there is a lot of spike in the buying of GPUs from companies like OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic, the share price of Nvidia has went up like hell. It it touched the roof. So the moment it touched the roof, a lot of senior developers who have joined, their stocks have increased like massively, and they have retired, and they don't have to do work anymore in their life. So that is how Nvidia has changed the landscape around us with their processor called Volta. Remember this. And then Google is also another company that actually provides TPUs, which are cloud tensor processing units. These are actually used to train the models. Okay, and remember these terms like edge TPU or on-device AI. So when you see edge tensor processing units or cloud tensor processing units or on-device AI hardware providers, Google is the one that needs to come to your mind. The next one, Intel. Intel is the company that also makes processors. Obviously, all our Windows systems run on Intel processors, like we already know. So Intel actually has a processor called Nirvana. These processors are actually used for deep learning and computer vision. Okay, so Movidius Myriad is a product which is being used, which is being eyed to actually achieve this computer vision. So Movidius Myriad is actually using Nirvana processors. Okay. And then Mobileye. Mobileye is a company that is actually used for vision processing in vehicles. So how are they actually doing vision processing in vehicles? So if you see cars like Tesla or anything, they self-drive, right? So how do they self-drive? They have to see the road and everything. So Mobileye is actually the company that is actually providing the processors that is making the cars like Tesla and everything see the road properly and make a decision as to how to proceed on the road. The next one, Apple. So recently, Apple 17 or 16, they are saying that they are giving you a bionic chip for on-device AI in iPhones because they are trying to introduce AI in-house on their phones using these bionic chips. And the next company is Huawei. Huawei is a company that is actually building a chip called Kirin 970. This 970 chip is actually there on their own smartphones, which is actually built in for neural network processing. So when you come to these slides, all you need to remember is what is the product and what is the company that is building it. For NVIDIA, the product is Volta and they provide GPUs. For Google, they provide TPUs and edge TPUs. For Intel, it is Nirvana for deep learning and Movidius Myriad for computer vision. For Mobileye, so they have a family of SoC devices called IQ. So whenever you see these terms like IQ or vision processing in vehicles, the thing that has to strike to your mind is the Mobileye. And when you see things like bionic chip, it is Apple. And when you see neural network processing on smartphones and Kirin 970 chips, it is Huawei. Any doubts in this before we go to the next chapter?
No.
Okay. So the name of the next next section is AI as a service. So you guys might have already known about what is AI as a service by now. So the tools like ChatGPT, they're providing AI as a service, right? So whatever you're seeing today on web, ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, these are the things that are called AI as a service. And if anybody is using GitHub Copilot on their machines, automatic code completions. So GitHub Copilot is a AI as a service offering. And recently you might be listening about things like Cloud Code, Cursor IDE, and recently Google has launched their own IDE, AI IDE called Google Anti-Gravity. So all these things are called AI as a service. So what do these do? They provide access to a pre-trained ML model over web. So ChatGPT actually has a model called a lot of models. So if you see ChatGPT right now, they are using a model called GPT-5. So when they say model called GPT-5, it means an ML model. So they are actually letting you use an ML model called GPT-5 over the web. So that is called AI as a service. So it can provide data, it can provide support for data preparation, storage, model training, testing, and deployment. Yes, you can actually use ChatGPT and prepare your own model for a specific purpose. You can test that model, you can deploy that model also. And some people, what do they do is they do a hybrid approach where some AI they build in-house and some AI they use as a service. So why use AI as a service? Like the example I told, you don't want to actually build everything from scratch because you don't have the enough resources, nor do you have the enough expertise. Can you guys build a system like ChatGPT from scratch? No. Why? Because to build a system like ChatGPT, you need to have a big data center where you can actually host all your GPUs. You need to buy a land for the data center. You need to buy GPUs from NVIDIA, and you need to have developers that can actually make use of them. To do all of these, you need to be a billionaire. If you are a billionaire, you don't even need to study this course. So that is why AI as a service, you have to get few things from that you have to get few things from that are already there. Now, contracts for AI as a service. So whenever enterprises or companies actually, so let's say I am working for a company, okay, they want to use ChatGPT as their AI for all their employees. So that is an enterprise offering from OpenAI. So what are the contracts that would be there when companies like ChatGPT are providing an enterprise service to a company like mine? Okay. So these contracts are similar to non-AI cloud-based software service, cloud-based software as a service. So what are the different software as a service that are using in a day-to-day life? So if you are in your company, you are using Jira. You're using Jira Cloud. Do you know that your company pays for Jira Cloud? You are using Confluence. Your company pays for Confluence Cloud. Okay. And then your company might be using a lot of things like, yeah, you guys use some people use GitHub Enterprise. For GitHub Enterprise, your company pays for each user. So what are these? These are called software as a service. So just like whatever contracts are there between the companies for a software as a service, for AI as a service also, there are some contracts and SLAs. What are SLAs? Service level agreements. So normally a service level agreements defines the availability and security of the product that they are actually giving them. So they actually promise a 99.99% uptime, and they'll also ensure that you will not be subjected to any security breaches when you use our product. The same way, just like how software as a service is a paid thing, AI as a service is also often paid on a subscription basis. Very simple example. You can actually use ChatGPT for as free also, but you can also use ChatGPT Go plan, Pro plan, Plus plan, and everything. Why do these come? Because the moment you want to use ChatGPT for more and more complex tasks, it will not let you do it without a subscription. You have to pay for it. So, what are contract limitations for a AI as a service? So these service level agreements actually tell the other companies that we will provide you 99.99% of the uptime. We will provide you security, but they will not give any promises on the functional performance of that model. They'll They'll never tell you that this model is 100% correct. So even if you use ChatGPT today, in the bottom you can see that the AI generated responses might be wrong. Please check before you actually use them. That is because that is their disclaimer saying AI is subject to making mistakes. So that is why whenever they actually write a service level agreement with other companies, they don't give any promises on accuracy or functional performances. Okay, and let's say someday their service is down for 1 hour. So I am not able to use ChatGPT. So recently, one issue happened over the world. I don't know if you guys have known about this. There was an AWS outage in the last month, and a lot of people are not able to use DynamoDB. And just few days back, Cloudflare was down. So whenever these kind of things happen, normally what they do is they don't give any monetary compensation. They give few things called service credits. So what is the use of the service credits is few of the services these cloud providers provide you, they'll give you for free for sometimes. So that way they will cover this loss. Okay. And this is also telling you that you need to use AI as a service in only low risk applications. So what is a high risk application? So let's say you are using a banking app. So you should not actually use AI as a service over there because that is a high risk application. So if you are asking you to transfer 10,000 rupees and this AI transfers 20,000 rupees, that is a big problem, right? So, and then these AI as a service providers, these guys don't actually give you any promises on the functional performance. So you cannot even blame them. So that is why AI should be limited to lower risk applications at least now because it is still in the incubation phase. So these guys also provide something called a free trial period. So these services they come with an initial free period where the customer, I mean my company, is expected to test whether the provided service meets their needs in terms of required functionality or performance. So whenever they are writing the service level agreement, they will actually give them a free trial period. In this free trial period, what these companies do is they test that service and then see if it is actually giving good results or not. Only if they feel that if it is giving good results, then they are going to move to a pro or a paid plan. So what are few artificial intelligence as service examples? So this was in 2021. That is why you don't see things like ChatGPT. So there is an IBM Watson assistant and then Google Cloud AI. So what this Google Cloud AI used to do is it used to take document based AI, and it used to create documents for you based on whatever you input to it. And it used to actually charge you by the number of pages it created for you. And then there is another offering from Amazon called Amazon Code Guru. So what this Amazon Code Guru does is, so you need to integrate your repository with Amazon Code Guru. So the moment you integrate your GitHub repository with Amazon Code Guru, it actually goes through all of your code and it will check for code quality. Okay, and then it will actually raise issues if your code quality is not met and if your coding standards are not good. But to do this, it actually charges you money. How does it charges you money? It charges you based on the number of lines of source code it has actually scanned. And the next thing is Microsoft Azure Cognitive Search. So, so today you see a lot of applications have search bars, right? Where you have to search few things. So people don't actually code for search bars anymore. Okay. So in the backend, they use another library that is provided by Microsoft Azure. So how does this Microsoft Azure actually charge them is they actually charge them based on the number of search units. Like it depends basically on how many searches happen today. And these kind of things. Based on this, Microsoft Azure Cognitive Search is actually going to charge their customers. So any doubts in this before we close for the day?
Just one thing from me. So I was just looking at the syllabus, and so are you saying that I just need to concentrate on this course rather than just go through the syllabus and
You can
train?
see everything that is there in the syllabus is there here.
Okay.
But if you want to correlate these slides to that, that is even more better.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm also parallelly doing some online course as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just the objective is to just pass the exam. That's it.
Yes.